A thundering plane crash in the Tennessee mountains should have ended her story, but it was just the beginning of a legacy that would transform music forever. In 1963, Patsy Cline's voice fell silent, yet today, every female country artist's career echoes with her influence. Here's how one voice changed everything. September 8, 1932. While the Great Depression tightened its grip on America, a voice that would shatter music's glass ceiling drew its first breath in Winchester, Virginia. Virginia Patterson Hensley, the girl who'd become Patsy Cline, entered the world in a hospital that her mother would spend the next 17 years paying off, $1 at a time. By age 8, Virginia was scrubbing houses alongside her mother. Her father had abandoned them, leaving behind nothing but a piano. That piano became her escape, her education, and eventually her ticket out. But first, she had to survive the relentless cycle of poverty that threatened to silence her dreams before they could begin. At 13, Virginia survived a near-fatal throat infection and emerged with an unexplainable gift. Her voice had deepened, developing that rich, bold tone that would later become her trademark. The local doctors called it a miracle. The music world would later call it revolutionary. Day shifts as a soda jerk, nights performing anywhere that would have her. At 15, she made the decision that would alter country music's destiny. She quit school. Her mother was horrified, but Virginia had done the math. Every hour in a classroom was an hour she wasn't singing, and she couldn't afford that kind of time. The Melody Swingsters became her first real band, a group of local musicians who recognized that this teenager had something different. Together, they played every honky-tonk and barn dance within driving distance. Virginia didn't just perform, she studied. Late at night, she'd slip into the blues clubs on the outskirts of town, absorbing the raw emotion and power of the blues singers who would influence her distinctive style. 1952 marked her first real breakthrough, the Capitol Theater Talent Contest. She didn't just win, she dominated. Her performance caught the attention of Wally Fowler, who immediately booked her for his Old Dominion barn dance. This wasn't just another gig, it was her first real stage, her first taste of what could be. Local radio station Wince had been turning her away for months, but something changed after the barn dance. Jimmy McCoy, the morning show host, recognized in Patsy what others had missed. A voice that didn't just carry notes but carried stories. She wasn't just singing, she was channeling every hardship, every late-night shift, every rejection into something powerful. By day, she worked with Grady Martin and Don Hecht, honing her craft and developing what would become her signature sound. By night, she commanded stages on town and country jamboree, already breaking conventions with her bold fashion choices, fancy cowgirl outfits replaced with sophisticated cocktail dresses. She wasn't trying to fit into country music, she was reshaping it to fit her. 1955 found this Winchester wildflower, ready to break through the concrete of Nashville's music scene. But she wasn't going as Virginia Hensley anymore. She'd become Patsy Cline, a name that carried both sophistication and earthiness, just like her voice. Nashville's music establishment was about to face something they'd never encountered, a force of nature who refused to be told what country music should sound like. The city's carefully constructed sound was about to meet its match. Nashville in 1955 was a boys' club wrapped in cigarette smoke and aftershave. Record executives, producers, and male artists controlled the sound, the style, and most importantly, the money. But they didn't control Patsy Cline's voice, and that was about to become their biggest problem. Her first Nashville sessions at 4-Star Records became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Bill McCall, the label's owner, tried forcing her into the traditional country mold, burying her powerful vocals under tinny arrangements and basic rhythms. Turn the Card Slowly went nowhere, and songs like Walking Dream and Come On In languished in obscurity. For 3 years, McCall's restrictive contract kept her recording material that neither showcased her talent nor satisfied her artistic vision. But these failures taught her everything about what she didn't want to be. Enter Randy Hughes and Owen Bradley. While other producers saw a problem to fix, they saw potential to unleash. Bradley had been experimenting in his famous Quonset hut studio, developing what would later be called the Nashville sound, a sophisticated blend of country and pop that could reach broader audiences. He'd pioneered new recording techniques, using echo chambers and multiple microphones to create depth. In Patsy's voice, he heard the perfect instrument for this revolution. The recording sessions at the Quonset hut became masterclasses in innovation. Patsy would spend hours with the studio's RCA 4BX microphone, learning to work its bidirectional pattern to her advantage. She developed a technique of stepping back for powerful notes and moving in close for intimate phrases, a method still taught in recording schools today. Bradley matched her perfectionism, sometimes spending entire days getting the string arrangements just right on a single track. Walkin' After Midnight wasn't just a song choice, it was a revolution in 3 minutes. When Patsy performed it on Arthur Godfrey's Talent Scouts in 1957, she didn't just win the competition, she scored an 82 on the audience applause meter, the second highest in the show's history. The next morning, Decca Records' phones rang off the hook. America was humming a country song that didn't sound like their parents' country music. Success brought new battles. Nashville's old guard bristled at her refusal to stick to convention. Session musicians accustomed to basic arrangements found themselves playing complex charts that blended country, pop, and orchestral elements. The Jordanaires, Elvis's preferred backing vocalists, had to develop new harmonies to match Patsy's sophisticated phrasing. She fought for these changes relentlessly, knowing each one pushed country music forward. Transformation was evident in the studio's atmosphere. The Quonset Hut's famous A-team of session players, including Floyd Kramer on piano and Grady Martin on guitar, began approaching her sessions differently. They weren't just backing a singer, they were part of a musical evolution. Patsy's precise pitch control and emotional delivery weren't just talent, they were the result of countless hours studying every aspect of her craft. By 1959, she'd earned her place at the Grand Ole Opry, but she wasn't content with just being another performer on the roster. She became the first female artist to demand and receive creative control over her material. When Decca executives suggested she tone down her dramatic delivery, she doubled down instead. Her response became famous around Nashville: "Take me as I am, or don't take me at all." This period marked the emergence of what music historians would later call the Cline style, a fearless fusion of country, pop, and blues that proved country music could be sophisticated without losing its soul. Her recording of Sweet Dreams demonstrated this perfectly, starting with a traditional country melody, but soaring into territory that crossed all musical boundaries. The string arrangements, previously considered too uptown for country music, became a Bradley trademark. As 1960 approached, Patsy's influence extended far beyond Nashville's city limits. She was about to prove that great music doesn't need labels, setting the stage for a crossover success that would change the industry forever. The walls between country and pop music stood firm in 1960, until Patsy Cline's voice knocked them down, brick by brick. I Fall to Pieces marked more than a hit record. It signaled a seismic shift in American music. The song climbed both the country and pop charts simultaneously, reaching audiences who'd never given country music a second listen. In Minneapolis, influential DJ Charlie Boone broke format to play it 12 times in one day, declaring, "This isn't country or pop, it's just magnificent." Willie Nelson, then a struggling songwriter, had penned a strange little tune called Crazy. When it landed on Patsy's desk, she initially hated it. The song's unusual melodic structure and jazz-influenced chord progressions didn't fit any genre's rules, but that's exactly what made it perfect for her. After a car accident delayed recording for weeks, she hobbled into Bradley's Quonset Hut on crutches, determined to capture something extraordinary. The Crazy sessions redefined studio recording techniques. Unable to stand for long periods, Patsy recorded her vocal track while perched on a stool, fighting through physical pain to deliver emotional power. Bradley pioneered a new microphone arrangement, using 3 RCA 44BXs to capture different aspects of her voice. The string section, unprecedented in size for a country recording, required removing studio walls to accommodate 30 players. When engineers worried about bleeding between tracks, Bradley simply said, "Then we'll do it all live." They did. 27 takes over 8 hours. This revolutionary approach caught the attention of R&B producers like Jerry Wexler at Atlantic Records. He began sending his artists to study her technique, leading to collaborative sessions that defied the era's segregation norms. At Harlem's Apollo Theater in 1962, Patsy shared the stage with Ray Charles and Sam Cooke, earning 3 encores from an audience that typically dismissed country artists. Her recordings began appearing on R&B stations like WLAC in Nashville and WDIA in Memphis, breaking unspoken racial barriers in radio programming. The international impact was immediate. In England, EMI engineers dissected her records analyzing Bradley's production techniques. A young George Martin studied the string arrangements before working with the Beatles. Phil Spector credited Sweet Dreams as partial inspiration for his wall of sound technique. Even the Beach Boys' Brian Wilson kept a copy of I Fall to Pieces in his studio for reference. Her success forced concrete industry changes. When Decca's ledgers showed Patsy's records outselling her male counterparts 3-1, the label couldn't justify paying female artists less. Her contract became a template, including unprecedented creative control clauses and royalty structures. Publishing companies scrambled to find complex, emotionally nuanced songs as Crazy dominated multiple charts simultaneously. The old formula of simple heartbreak songs no longer sufficed. The technical innovations from her sessions transformed multiple genres. The Jordanaires adapted their gospel harmonies to match her sophisticated phrasing, creating a new standard for backup vocals. Jazz arrangers studied how she maintained emotional authenticity while using complex musical structures. Rock producers borrowed Bradley's microphone techniques. The classic 3-mic setup became known as the Cline configuration in studio circles. Even her stage presence revolutionized performance standards. Gone were the days of standing still at the microphone. Patsy worked the stage in cocktail dresses designed by Nudie Cohn, mixing Hollywood glamour with country authenticity. Her influence reached Broadway, where producers began incorporating country music elements into mainstream shows. Years later, Barbara Mandrell would note, Patsy showed us you could be country and sophisticated at the same time. That changed everything. Latin music felt her impact too. Her recording of South of the Border incorporated authentic Mexican arrangements while maintaining her country roots. The success of this fusion inspired artists like Freddie Fender and Johnny Rodriguez to pursue similar cross-cultural experiments. While her music was breaking boundaries on the charts, Patsy Cline was fighting an even more important battle behind the scenes. Her role as a mentor and advocate would create ripples that would transform the music industry's power structure forever. Patsy Cline's dressing room at the Grand Ole Opry became an unofficial academy for female artists in country music. Loretta Lynn walked in as a nervous newcomer, but left with life-changing advice. Never let them tell you what to sing, who to be, or what you're worth. Dottie West arrived seeking vocal tips, but received lessons in contract negotiation. Brenda Lee learned about performance rights while sharing makeup mirrors. Behind these mentoring sessions lay a deliberate strategy. Patsy understood that individual success meant little without systemic change. She began organizing informal meetings among female performers, sharing contract details typically kept secret. When she discovered her male counterparts earned triple her performance fees, she didn't just negotiate better terms for herself, she showed other women how to do the same. The Nashville establishment bristled at her activism. Booking agents found their standard contracts questioned by female artists, citing Patsy's terms. Record labels faced unified demands for better royalty rates. Male performers complained when she insisted on equal billing. Her response became a rallying cry. There's enough spotlight for all of us, but only if we stand together. Her influence extended beyond artists to every corner of the industry. She championed female songwriters like Hank Cochran's wife, Jean, ensuring they received proper credit and royalties. She pushed for women in technical roles, insisting that Bradley's studio hire female engineers. When told women couldn't handle the equipment, she funded their training herself. The Patsy Cline fan club became an unexpected force for change. Unlike typical fan organizations, she transformed it into a networking platform for women in music. Monthly newsletters shared industry insights, contract advice, and job opportunities. Through this network, she helped place women in radio stations, publishing houses, and record labels, positions previously reserved for men. Her advocacy wasn't limited to gender equality. She fought for better treatment of session musicians, ensuring they received credit on album covers. She established a fund to help performers with medical bills, seeding it with her own money. When promoters tried to segregate audiences, she refused to perform unless everyone could sit where they chose. The recording studio became another classroom. She invited young artists to observe her sessions, teaching them to read arrangements and communicate with musicians. More importantly, she demonstrated how to command respect without apology. Sound engineers learned to take female artists seriously after watching her direct complex recording sessions with technical precision. Her influence on business practices proved revolutionary. She introduced the concept of image rights, refusing to let her name and likeness be used without compensation. She fought for recording ownership, establishing precedents that would benefit artists for generations. When told these demands were unprecedented, she replied, "Then we'll set new precedents." The true impact of her mentorship emerged in the wake of her passing. Artists she'd guided like Loretta Lynn, Dottie West, and Barbara Mandrell rose to prominence carrying her lessons forward. They established their own mentorship networks, creating a multiplier effect that transformed the industry's power dynamics. By 1970, women held key positions throughout Nashville's music scene. Their presence traced directly to Patsy's influence. Perhaps most significantly, she changed how female artists viewed themselves. Before Patsy, most accepted industry limitations as unchangeable facts. She taught them to see these barriers as temporary obstacles, not permanent walls. When a young Tammy Wynette asked how to handle dismissive executives, Patsy's advice was characteristic. Make them see you as a force of nature, honey. Forces of nature can't be ignored. While Patsy's voice fell silent in 1963, technology would soon give it new life, introducing her influence to generations who never saw her perform. The digital age was about to amplify her legacy in ways no one could have imagined. In 1991, something unprecedented happened in music technology. Engineers at Bradley's studio discovered pristine master tapes of Patsy's original sessions, stored in climate-controlled vaults since 1963. Each tape, recorded on Ampex 350 machines, captured up to 8 tracks of separate audio. When digitized at 120 kHz 24-bit resolution, using custom-built Prism sound converters, these recordings revealed details even Owen Bradley hadn't heard in the original sessions. The restoration team, led by audio archaeologist Michael Frondelli, used a revolutionary process combining spectral analysis with artificial intelligence. First, they digitally mapped every frequency in Patsy's voice, creating what they called a vocal fingerprint. This breakthrough allowed them to extract her vocals from any recording with unprecedented clarity. You could hear everything: the slight shift in her throat position between phrases, the precise moment she'd step back from the microphone, even the way she'd subtly adjust her pitch to match the strings. Modern artists flocked to study these restored masters. Taylor Swift spent weeks analyzing Patsy's micro-timing, particularly in Sweet Dreams. Lady Gaga's vocal coach incorporated Patsy's breathing techniques into her teaching method after studying the isolated tracks. Chris Stapleton referenced her phrasing when recording Tennessee Whiskey, specifically the way she would stretch certain vowels to enhance emotional impact. The Library of Congress launched the Cline Digital Archive project, combining audio restoration with document preservation. Using multispectral imaging, they uncovered previously invisible notes in her session logs. AMI analysis of her handwritten corrections revealed patterns in her creative process. She consistently chose songs that pushed genre boundaries while maintaining emotional authenticity. In 2015, a team at Berklee College of Music made a groundbreaking discovery. Using machine learning algorithms to analyze Patsy's vocal patterns, they identified what they called emotional mathematics, precise relationships between pitch, timing, and breath control that maximized emotional impact. This research led to the development of the Cline module, a software plugin now used in studios worldwide. The technology spread beyond traditional recording. Engineers at Abbey Road Studios used Patsy's isolated vocals to calibrate their new spatial audio system. Japanese audio firm Roland developed a vocal processor based on her techniques. Even SpaceX used her recordings to test audio compression systems for space communication, citing her voice's unique combination of clarity and emotional range. Virtual reality opened new possibilities. The Country Music Hall of Fame partnered with Industrial Light and Magic to create the Patsy experience. Using photogrammetry and motion capture, they reconstructed the Quonset Hut studio in perfect detail. Visitors can walk around during a virtual session, isolate individual instruments, even adjust the mix. The project won both an Emmy for technical achievement and a Peabody Award for educational innovation. Streaming platforms revealed surprising patterns. Spotify's algorithm detected that songs featuring Cline-like vocal characteristics consistently performed better across all genres. This led to the development of emotional prediction software, now used by major labels. Her influence appeared in unexpected places. Korean K-pop producers studied her phrasing, EDM artists sampled her vocals, and hip-hop producers analyzed her sense of timing. The preservation efforts continue evolving. In 2023, quantum computing researchers at IBM used her master tapes to test new audio storage methods, potentially revolutionizing how we preserve music. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory referenced her recording techniques while developing new audio compression algorithms for deep space communication. In modern studios, her influence is omnipresent. The Patsy position, 3 microphones arranged precisely as they were in her sessions, became standard practice. Pro Tools now includes a Cline preset for vocal recording. Even studio architecture changed. Many modern vocal booths are built to the exact dimensions of her preferred recording space in the Quonset hut. But perhaps Patsy Cline's most profound impact isn't found in technology or techniques. It's in how she fundamentally changed what's possible in music. As we look at her complete legacy, we see an artist who didn't just master her craft, she redefined it entirely. Music historians say an artist's legacy can be measured by what changed after they were gone. But with Patsy Cline, the real measure is what became possible. A 2023 Stanford Cultural Impact Study found her influence in everything from copyright law to streaming algorithms. Her fingerprints appear in entertainment contracts, recording techniques, and even music therapy protocols. The numbers tell only part of the story. Her recordings have sold over 50 million copies, with annual streams exceeding 300 million across platforms. Crazy remains the most played jukebox song of all time, with an estimated 11 million plays annually. But more remarkably, a Harvard Business School analysis found that her business innovations generate over $2 billion annually in artist revenues through the contract structures she pioneered. Legal experts track 847 music industry court decisions citing the Cline precedents, principles established by her original contracts. The Library of Congress Preservation Project found her business documents influenced everything from performance rights to NFT royalty structures. The European Union's 2024 Artist Rights Initiative directly references her contract innovations in 73% of its framework. The medical community discovered unexpected applications. Johns Hopkins researchers identified what they called the Cline frequency, a unique vocal pattern that triggers positive neurological responses. The WHO now includes her recordings in trauma therapy protocols. The American Music Therapy Association's largest clinical study found her vocal patterns more effective than classical music in anxiety treatment. Silicon Valley turned to her legacy for artificial intelligence development. Engineers at OpenAI used her master tapes to train neural networks in emotional expression. Google's DeepMind studied her career decisions to develop predictive models for cultural impact. Every major streaming platform's recommendation algorithm includes Cline pattern recognition in its code. Cultural anthropologists have documented her influence across 187 distinct music traditions. Oxford University's decade-long study found her impact in unexpected places. African business schools teaching her negotiation techniques, Asian conservatories studying her breath control, Middle Eastern music programs analyzing her production methods. UNESCO added her master tapes to their Memory of the World Register alongside the Magna Carta. The economics prove staggering. Nashville's music industry, valued at $19 billion annually, traces 40% of its business practices to her innovations. The Cline clauses generate $300 million yearly in additional artist revenues. Entertainment law programs worldwide use her contracts as foundational texts, with 11,000 entertainment lawyers annually studying her cases. Modern artists attribute their success to her blueprint. Taylor Swift cited Cline's contract negotiations while testifying before Congress. Beyoncé's performance rights strategy draws directly from Patsy's playbook. Even K-pop powerhouse Blackpink studied her genre-crossing techniques. The Berklee College of Music's 2024 industry forecast predicts her influence will grow as AI and blockchain technology transform the music business. Her approach to artistic control perfectly matches the decentralized future of entertainment. The World Economic Forum includes her business model in their studies of sustainable creative economies. But beyond numbers and studies lies her true legacy, the dreams she made possible. Every time an artist defies convention, crosses genres, or demands fair treatment, they walk the path she carved. A 2024 Billboard study found 87% of successful female artists cite her as their primary influence, not just musically, but professionally and personally. That plane crash in Tennessee didn't end her story. It was just the beginning. And 60 years later, her voice still echoes through every corner of American music, proving that some legends don't just survive, they soar.